Good evening. This week, of course, we're back with the Littlewoods FA Cup. The winners of today's matches would be just 4 victories away from that jig around Wembley Stadium in May with the famous old trophy. 5 years ago, Tony Adams captained Arsenal in their replay win over Sheffield Wednesday. Paul Merson was also very much part of that experience. Today, Merson and Adams were on opposite sides as Middlesbrough took on Arsenal in our top match. It's 10 years since Wimbledon's Shot Cup final win over Liverpool. Tonight we'll see Wimbledon's tie away to Huddersfield, First Division against Premiership again. And it's 11 staying up. It was 76 years ago. In recent times, the club's got past this 4th round only once. Visitors to the First Division side today were Wimbledon, last year's semi-finalists. And watching this one, Barry Davis.
10 years on from Wimbledon's triumph, 50 since Huddersfield Town were last at Wembley, losing to a last-minute penalty. But in different days, in a very different setting from the old Leeds Road, it's the First Division side who can boast 2 cup winners in their lineup. Barry Horne, who won with Everton in 1995, and David Phillips, who won the year before Wimbledon's success with Coventry City. They're 2 of 7 new faces brought to Huddersfield, which has seen the club climb from the depression of 5 points adrift at the foot of the division, with a record under Peter Jackson and Terry Yorath, which shows 7 wins and 2 draws in 13 games. Their team is unchanged from their 3rd round win at Bournemouth, and indeed the away draw in the league with Birmingham City last Saturday. Wimbledon, by their own standards, are having a bit of a patchy season, not helped by injuries, particularly to front players. Carl Courts and Marcus Gale are their front line today on a ground where 2 years ago they only just survived. Vinnie Jones, their captain, starts a 2-match suspension today, and it looked in the warm-up as though they might lose their captain for the day, Robbie Earle, who pulled up quite sharply and needed a bit of attention to his leg. The referee is David Ellery. Wimbledon this afternoon in all red. Huddersfield Town, the Terriers in their traditional blue and white stripes. And Wimbledon starting with Hughes up, probably tucking in just behind the front 2 players. This is Robin Cunningham. Paul Dalton has been having a good run of late. Cunningham, it's too long. It's comfortable for Steve Jenkins. Nice touch from Marcus Stewart. And Robbie Earle clearly has a problem. And a substitution is to be made. Now, Joe Kinnear turns away, and the decision is that Stuart Castledine will come on in place of Robbie Earle. Court sorts it out. It's a nice strike by Michael Hughes. Kerry Hughes pulls up, feeling the back of his thigh initially. On by Horne to Jenkins. Another very comfortable piece of play for Dean Blackwell. And another substitution to be made. Kerry Hughes goes off. And Wimbledon forced to make their 2nd substitution. Stahl Solbakken. Morrison's head. And 2 players in the 6-yard area were offside. It wouldn't have counted. It's pretty calm. But he's every reason to feel that the gods are not on his side. Cunningham. Hardley. Gale, good save. Really good save by Steve Harper. Gale's look spoke volumes. Met it with quite a bit of meat. Looked as though it was going to squeeze in. Harper made sure that it didn't. Peter Jackson doing almost as much walking as Joe Kinnear, and that's quite a bit of shoe leather. Another Norwegian. Stewart killed it instantly. This is Dalton. It just ran away from Stewart. Rousing reception to a rousing performance by Huddersfield Town. Oh, here's Allison. He wasn't offside. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, from the stands it looked a gift. And he wasn't offside when the ball was played in. He had so much time. You can only feel sympathy for him. On by Allison. And this is Johnson. And again, Neil Sullivan reprimands his defenders. He's had 2 or 3 sniffs at goal. That's Grant Johnson. And Robbie Earl's problem, a twisted knee, which now makes him a spectator. Allison poised to go. For him it's aimed, he got a little touch, and here's Johnson! It's a goal kick. Well, there was a moment then when it looked as though Neil Sullivan was beaten. It was a good flick on. The goalkeeper, though, there hesitated and seemed to turn his head to one side as the defender came in, but he got away with it. Hughes. He played a very good advantage because Horn was trying to grab hold of him. It's good attackers. Hughes really snatched at it after Gale hadn't been able to make his presence felt. Just didn't get over the ball at all. Kimball. That's mine, get out of my way. That's a free kick. Gale comes right to left. Caught his far side. And he just couldn't reach the flick on. Just couldn't stretch enough. And Carl Court. Gale. Court trying to set it up. Ali! Oh, that's a cracking drive. Really struck it supremely well, Neil Ardley. Court who held it up, little touchback, and no hesitation, the right foot of Ardley, beating Steve Harper and finding the corner. Fine goal. Premiership side lead, and we're in the 62nd minute. kick. It's cancelled on. Huddersfield Town make an immediate riposte. Likely to be feeling that they've been hard done by on the balance of play. Morrison is up at the back and gets up at the back. Morrison, block of hands, but inadvertent, said the referee. The hands were across the chest, and Blackwell is not penalised. No doubt the hands were there, as Morrison managed to get the header down. Morrison finally with a shot. Look at the hands position. Well, they were a bit higher than the chest, and the complaints of the crowd seem to have some justification. Again, that shining head seemed to good purpose. Cunningham. Barkin just gives it back from whence it came, but that's nicely done by Hughes. 3 in the middle. And here's a real chance. Castledine didn't take it. Blocked by Jenkins. That's a fine save again. That denies court. But Steve Harper has matched his performance coming into this fixture. He showed only 3 goals against in 6 games. And we've seen some quality goalkeeping, a couple of really stunning saves. No chance at all with the one that beat him. If there is a problem with him, that's where he struggles a little bit, for a slight lack of height. It's a shame for him, because he seems to have most of the other qualities required, if not all of them. And they have to hold out for another 2 minutes. In the closing stages, they're holding out with considerable comfort. Cunningham. Goal kick. No, corner. Seemed to me that Clark stumbled into that, but the referee thought otherwise. Been a disappointing finish for Peter Jackson and Terry Yorath, but for much of the match their side have shown the sort of fall that they hoped they would show to us and to many places in the world. Certainly haven't looked a lower First Division side. Comfortably taken from Castledine. Little push. While there's life, there's hope. Barry Hall to take 8 players ahead of him in striped shirts of Huddersfield. Oh, that's a comfortably cleared header by Blackwell. Allison. Stewart, Allison, still Allison! It's a slightly harsh thing to say, but he was closer then and on a far more difficult opportunity in the first half. Tried to bend it, wouldn't come back. And with that, surely the last chance is gone for Huddersfield Town. Not to be for the First Division side. One clean strike of the ball by Neil Ardley, deciding the contest. Balance of play was in favour of Huddersfield Town, except for the closing stages. And Wayne Allison had 2 fine chances, the first of which might have changed the entire course of the match when he really should have scored. But they were served well by many players, not least by Stephen Harper, by the captain Andrew Morrison, by Wayne Allison, Grant Johnson and Paul Dalton. but it's Wimbledon's day, and the Premiership side, 10 years on, move on to round 5.
Been going against us all week. I think we got wrote off when we had to go to Wrexham. We managed to put 3 past them down there, and we've come here. It started off terrible for us, didn't it? When you lose Robbie Earl and you lose Kerry Hughes, and then you bring in Stuart Castle. It's only Stuart's first time back now. He's been out himself 6 weeks with injury. So we're really getting thin on the ground, but the attitude was superb, and we stuck in there, and they were determined, the players themselves. They're still very hungry, they're still very committed, and if you win 1-0 or 6-0, it doesn't make any difference as long as you're in the hat.
What about the penalty?
I've not seen it, but my players who were involved in and around the penalty area said it was a definite penalty. But it wasn't given. But we're disappointed, but yeah, we thought it was a penalty.
Some referees give them, some don't, so thankfully it went for us.
Something about don't raise your hands in the box, though?
Yeah, that's true, yeah. What do you want me to say? It was a penalty.
Well, we'll see what Jimmy Hill thinks of whether it was a penalty or not in a moment or so. But Wimbledon have this extraordinary ability to grind out those sort of wins when it's not a great match, don't they?
Indeed, and it's been not a good season for them, not as well as things have been going for them in the past, and particularly the start of the match. I mean, to lose 2 players as quickly as that, you think, this is not going to be our day. But you've got to play it, you've got to carry on. Yeah. And they grafted, and they still had their experienced defenders at the back, as a basis to make it difficult for Huddersfield. But Huddersfield too, did their best virtually. They had the chance to win the game, the chances to win the game early on, and didn't take them. And to argue about the penalty, I'm going to be a bad boy with one of the teams, whichever way I come down.
Well, let's find out, Jimmy. We'll enjoy this.
Well, there it is. I mean, we looked at it a few times. The ball sort of jumps, comes up in the air, and this is the moment, whack. Now, does he put his hands up to stop the ball or to protect his face? David Eller is in a good position at the top of the picture there. See it now. Here comes the whack. Are those hands in front of his face? Where would the ball have gone if it hadn't hit his hand? They're the arguments that quite a few people out there will be arguing about tonight. I don't think it was a penalty kick. I'm sorry for Huddersfield in the circumstances, but I don't think he put his hand up wide of his face. I think his hands were there, and actually, if the ball had not touched the hand, if the hand hadn't been there, it would have gone miles over the bar. So it's not as if he blocked a shot anyway that might have gone into the goal.
You think justice was done with that? But Huddersfield, I mean, could have and perhaps should have won the match. I mean, they had 1 or 2 golden chances, didn't they?
I mean, I'm sorry again for the players that missed the goals, but missed them they did. Grant Johnson was the first one. Lovely little flick there. There's Allison put him through, and you think all he's got to do is put his foot on the ball, but he misses it completely. Sullivan can't believe his luck as the ball misses him and runs past the post. And this one, Wayne Allison. Again, Wayne, I'm sorry about this, but so will you be when you see it again tonight. That was an awful miss. He had time. Wimbledon defence was split completely. He had time to put his foot on it and roll it in a corner. And
he knows that now.
There,
he didn't know it then.
Yeah, that's when your luck's on your side.
One player stood out for you, didn't he? I mean, I think Barry Davis liked the look of him too. That's Harper, the goalkeeper for Huddersfield.
Yeah, he's on loan until the end of the season from Newcastle. Newcastle's struggling for goalkeepers themselves. But this was just one save, down in the corner, gets across there beautifully and pushes it to the side of the post. Just one save that kept his side in the game, but it wasn't to be for them. No. But it was they shouldn't be ashamed of their performance today, Huddersfield. They're an improving team, and I think they'll do better.
One thing I have noticed, we're glued to Premiership football every Saturday on this programme, of course, is that the pitches down the league are different, aren't they? They're not so good, are they, as the Premiership pitches? Do they not spend so much money on them, do you think? Or
I think that's the answer. Yeah. I mean, it's easy enough to say, again, you get all the groundsmen saying, oh, our pitches are good outside, but good pitches are expensive to maintain at the level which you see. I mean, the Arsenal pitch I think, is a perfect example of that. If you go there, it's like a bowling green. Arsenal are a club that can afford to do that, and so are many of the others, like United. So this year has not been a good year for pitches.
Too much rain. Wrong sort of rain, we've still got a drought.
Yeah, right.
Well, away from today.